watching the oracles, again, my story resonates with me very strongly. So it was a mention of a child being abused and consistently being beat in the head to the point where the child had to go to the hospital and had swelling on the brain. And ironically, I have a crack on my forehead where my third eye is to be. And the oracle was stating how in my childhood, I would speak of things that they didn't understand and made them fearful because I was seeing things that I wasn't present for and they didn't understand it. And even still to this day, with everything that's going on with them attempting to run my character, my name and everything through the mud and on the dark web, and all of these judges and clerks and all these politicians and government, the whole the whole MK Ultra thing, like to really open my eyes and see what my life has truly been, it shocks the hell out of me.
So what do you think you need help with the most right
now? Right now, if I had to choose something, it's learning how to get off of me whatever is on me. There was a point in time when my gifts was...
Ain't nothing on you.
Okay, so what am I possibly either not doing, or maybe I'm still suppressing? I'm not sure, because there was a time when my gifts were so clear and vivid that it would be like watching a television screen. I could literally close my eyes and I can literally foresee things that clear, and it's not that anymore.
That's because the faculty is atrophy. The only way to rebuild it is to let your imagination flow with it. Remember what they used to say, don't let me catch you daydream?
Yeah.
In school, that's what you was doing. You was building your ability to see that the whole spectrum psychic field. You use daydreaming as a child because there's nobody to teach you, so you automatically born wired to daydream in order to practice developing the psychic faculty. The ones of us that do that, we end up in special ed, we end up medicated and all kind of stuff. And the only way right now, you focus on your cleanses and your heavy metal cleanses, because they didn't probably poisoned you with aluminum and arsenic.
I had to recently, just last year, I went through cancer treatment because they diagnosed me with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I had to get 7 transfusions.
Do you know what that?
And I knew it wasn't coincidental, because I know that they were poisoning me, because twice I was sick to the point where I felt as though I was dying. I laid up in the bed for like 7 and 8 days each time, and I just talked to divine.
Do you know what non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is?
It's a blood cancer, isn't it?
They tell you, okay, when they say lymphoma, means lymphatic system. Hodgkin's disease is an entirely different disease. That's why it's called non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Right? Right? I'm going to tell you where it comes from, and it's going to shock you. Women using deodorant that's laced with aluminum that's clogging up the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system clogged up creates tumors from the body trying to correct and get the toxins out. So what do? They massively overload you with toxins, either radiation treatment or chemotherapy. Both of them are toxic.
And that's what they did. I had chemo. And ironically, there was no mention of a tumor. They were just curious as to why my blood count kept dropping and where the blood was going. And I know prior to that, I had not used the deodorants for quite some time. I'm one of those who, I do know the importance of, not doing that. I hadn't used that in years.
But you used to use it regularly when you was younger, right?
When I was younger, yes. And back then I didn't know the difference between antiperspirant versus a deodorant. Like, I didn't know about the aluminum and all those things back during that time either.
Yeah. Strangling the system.
Yeah.
And a lot of times what the deficiency that make your blood drop and it causes you to suffer anemia, the condition is liver congestion. You have excessive blood buildup in the liver, which limits the amount of blood available to be pushed through the system.
Yeah, I thought of that too. And again, with my whole situation, because it's challenging and I'm still attempting to figure it out because I have been blocked financially. They've tapped my devices, the whole nine
Oh, they like
yards.
to keep us. They like to keep the chosen ones broke because they know if we got money, we gonna fix the world.
Yeah, I had even got to the point where I walked away from the corporations as far as being an employee and sought to do my own thing. So I had started an elder care thing in Rhode Island, and I would do like little food gigs for community festivals and things of that nature. And I got into gardening, and slowly but surely, it all tanked. It all tanked.
And that wasn't your path.
You know what, Rod? I feel as I don't think the senior aspect was, but as far as the gardening, like I feel now that I kind of see things a little bit more than what I did growing up, I feel as though I am to be the example of unconditional love. I feel like I'm one here to share the story of the matriarch,
Okay.
and I stand firm in
It
that
is
shit too.
rules. It is rules that go with unconditional love too.
Yeah, I know. I had to find that out because, again, I only really socialized with family, but the closest family that I did constantly associate with were my children. So they even utilized my children too, right?
Yeah, that's kind of.
Identification stolen, the whole nine yards.
Where
Like
do you, where do you
my
think? Listen, if you don't think they're gonna use your children, where do you think women get the idea, the concept, to disassociate the father from the child they made together, and to use the child to punish the father? Who do you think came up with that? That's not a matriarchal thing. Women don't real healed women don't think like that. That's only some trauma based women that's operating from traumas that they
yeah,
can't overcome, listening to other traumatized victims trying to tell them how to X out the trauma by causing more trauma. This is
yeah,
because why the baby's messed up right now to this day. The baby's messed up now because you got traumatized people raising them, traumatizing them, trying to under the pretense of avoiding trauma, they giving them worse trauma. So instead
hmm,
of let your baby spend time with his father, you rather kill it. That don't make sense. They call it abortion.
yeah. It's crazy.
Under the matriarchy, abortion was only allowed under certain conditions. I'm not gonna get into all that, but if the woman didn't want the child, she didn't have to keep it, but she had to give it to the daddy. There's
Yeah,
most,
it's
there's very few men who have the option to be a father to their child that know it's his child that's gonna go the other way. It's very, very, very few, unless they them people that look like us and ain't us. It's a lot of them. But
yeah.
generally,
I'm finding that out the hard
it's
way.
more people that's not those people on earth than it is those people that look like us that ain't us. And most
Yeah,
men, when given the opportunity, would rather be a participant in the raising and the upbringing of their children in multiple capacities, not just as the guy to go out and go to work and bring the money home at the end of the week. That's a slave concept that has nothing to do with building a household. There's nothing in this system designed for us to build a household and functional families, which is only going to accelerate the decay of the society because it's going to keep producing more trauma on top of trauma, generation to generation, until somebody see it. And
yeah,
the more it's done, the harder it is to see it because what's the trauma looks normal. A lot of women think they sweat up and down they doing what's right, but they figure because they carry the child as hers and hers alone. That's not matriarchal thinking. That's patriarchal thinking, indoctrination through feminism.
well,
Women
I'm
never
thankful
thought
I
like
didn't
that
have that
until they
mindset.
encountered feminists.
I'm glad I didn't have that mindset. And although he was an absent parent, the door was never closed. He just chose never to enter unless it was according to his conditions. And
See,
part of that condition was to always have access to me, and that wasn't an
no,
option.
that's not always the case. That's a boy acting like a man.
Yeah, he's part of that group that I'm coming to know is down low. Um,
I rest
and
my case.
not just that, he's also part of the group that took whatever connected to me. And knowing that his children struggled, knowing the many times we were homeless,
He's one
like,
of them. He's an
yeah,
absolute
he
100%
is.
Jacobite.
He is. He is. And it's sad because, you know, like I said, they utilize my children, and I've even told them, like, it hurt me initially, that they chose to partake in that with him when he wasn't even present at all, versus coming to tell me of the things that they knew. I had to kind of, once I had got to a point of accepting what I'm hearing in the oracles that was resonating with me, and I took the time to step back and think back in my life, I realized I did ignore a lot of red flags. A lot of things are right in front of my face and I didn't see them. And
What do you do with that? At this point, what do you do with that?
actually what I'm doing with it is I've taken it in and I've accepted that, and I work on me. Now I set boundaries, right? Now you know, even with my children, and I have grandchildren, it hurts my heart, but I have very strong boundaries. And I'm attempting to work on myself because I don't want my boundaries to be so firm, because again, I know that I'm here to be an example of
Give me
love.
an
Um,
example of a firm boundary that you have.
with the regards to my children,
No matter what it is, as long as you know that it's a firm boundary, like the thing that you say, I'm not gonna never tolerate this in my life ever again.
um, I'm kind of, I would say the gaslighting for me, since that seems to be the way everybody tends to come, is the gaslighting. A lot of things that people used to say to me, I would just ignore and be like, oh, they tripping, or, you know, I brush it off, but no more. And I even still have to curb that, because sometimes I wonder if I'm too abrasive. Sometimes I wonder if I'm too abrasive, or if I come off too much of my masculine energy because I functioned that way for so long.
It's
Um,
always a possibility.
I know it is, and I I do my best to be
What do you
conscious
call
of it.
gaslighting?
Um, for example, one of the projects I was working on, my intellectual property. Oh, that's really good. I like that. I like that. But then they would go behind and talk to other people and say, oh, she ain't gonna be successful. Oh, that ain't shit. She don't know what she's doing. But then they turned around and stole my shit.
That's not gaslighting.
No, the fact that they made it seem like, oh, it was a really good idea. You're gonna be really
They,
good at that.
why wouldn't they steal it? Why would they steal it if it wasn't a good idea? They
That's a good
they
question.
told you the truth of how they felt at that moment, and then they used the other tacky shit they did behind your back as so nobody won't look at them as being the thief that stole the property.
Mm.
That's not gaslighting. That's just setting you up so I can steal your shit.
Hmm. Okay.
That's what they do to all of the rap artists. Um, when they sign the contract, they never gonna give them their value. They gonna give them what they willing to give them, and they gonna try to figure out how to have all of it in the end before the contract expires. And it's gonna all be in that contract, but you're not gonna know it until they start cashing in on your ass. That's the
Yeah.
same thing. Your intellectual property is great as long as it came from the heart. And the greatness is going to make people do that type of stuff because they know that they can benefit from your artistic expression that they not capable of expressing themselves. So what they do, they take what you did, but first, before they do that, they lay the foundation to make anybody have any. When you come tell them who stole your shit, they gonna all look at you like, I don't believe that. He ain't like that shit no way, right?
Yeah.
So now now in the minds of all of the people that he spread about how horrible your arts and your talents was before he stole it, or she, before they stole it, all the people they was burning bread on your art with, now when you tell them people that that person is the one who stole your art, who is they looking at like crazy?
Them.
You just got set up.
Yeah.
That's a classic Karen game. I went, oh, easy to interpret. It ain't always quick to see at the beginning, but as it plays out, it's the same story. It's a sharecropping
Yeah.
agreement.
I'm I want to say that I may have somewhat salvaged myself in the sense where I did the only thing I knew to do without having to register my property, and that was make it public. And I also have,
That's how we do it as in the tribal tradition. We make our
I actually thought
intellectual
about you.
property. We
Yeah, I
make
thought about you when I did it.
yeah, we make our intellectual property known to as many people as we can, and we try to have it in a format where somebody can go back and reference
Yeah,
it. That's where the oral tradition come in. That's why we
yeah.
never had a patent office until the 1800s, I think it was 1700, somewhere in there. We never had a patent office over here on these lands. We didn't need one. Matter of fact, your intellectual property was so valuable and important to us that you get your proper credit that we would name it after you,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
We would name the first rapper, his name was Rapper, and he rapped candy for a living. So we gonna
Wow.
name his style of music rap. That's just
Wow.
an example of how we move, but I'm not sure if that's true right there. But generally, like the Bridge family, they was the ones who built the bridges. You can associate bridges with the bridges because when you hear one name, you hear the other.
Yeah.
The goldsmiths, what did they do? They was the people who used to melt down and make the gold trinkets for the chiefs of the land. That's why their last name is Goldsmith, right?
Mm,
Who called them Goldsmith is an exonym, is not the point. The point is we called each other by our professions. We
yeah.
called each other by our intellectual property, and our intellectual property was automatically associated with us. Mississippi ain't named after no man. That's why it got Mrs. at the beginning.
Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah.
just saying, the biggest clan on the land is the old Mississippians, and Mississippi not named after a man. So the intellectual property right that carries on from all Mississippian tribes ties back to the Mississippi mama.
Mm, that's deep.
This
That's
this
deep.
is this is this is why anytime the land is in a crisis like it is now, they gotta go to Mississippi and scatter chiefs across the land as youth, as adolescents, right?
Mm,
And sometimes it take 2 or 3 generations, but they gonna all know each other because Mississippi niggas know Mississippi niggas because Mississippi niggas do Mississippi shit. And then we go try it out on them NO niggas to see if it's a yes or a no. And if they tell us it's a go, it's a go. Then they
yeah.
go second line marching in order for them Crips to start walking, to trigger them Bloods to start be walking, in order for them Detroit niggas to jit. While them South Side of Chicago niggas is ballrooming in competition versus them West Side Chicago ballroomers. And they trying to get it all told in the story where one of us gonna be able to read it. Because the culture is not gonna leave the people, even if the people try to escape the culture, because the culture is tied to the DNA of the people.
DNA.
It's
Yes,
in
it
the
is.
blood. And if it's in
Yeah.
the blood, I'm a bloodhound. I'm gonna sniff it out.
Yeah.
That's a whole different breed.
I,
Ain't no future in
I,
your front.
that's a throwback. I have another question too with in regards to the records because um, I actually, upon me finding out this information, I contacted the hospital that was listed on the birth record that I was born at to be told that they didn't have the records any longer. When I inquired as to if they had an archive, I was told that they didn't have that. So
What
then
city
I
was it?
contacted, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What city was that in?
Chicago.
Oh, they full of shit.
I know they are.
Chicago, this Chicago, Chicago Cook County Hospital was originally the Grand Doula Center where all of the doulas across Canada, the islands, into South America came to learn the science of birthing and child rearing and medical practice.
I think I was born in, what is it, Jackson Park? Jackson,
Yeah,
is it
but
Jackson
they
Park
still got
Hospital?
all that. I was using Cook County as the example, but all of the hospitals still have a repository of information. If they tell you and block you and say that your paperwork is lost, 9.9 out of 10, what that means is it's sealed by the government, so you will never know who you is until
Yeah.
it's over with.
Yeah, I figured that out too because I also requested the original application for the Social Security account number. And it's
Hmm.
been well past 6 weeks and I haven't heard anything yet. Although I was able to speak to a representative to know that although my date of birth is 10/10/77, the date of issue on the application was June 15th of 1979.
Wait a minute, say that again.
I was born 10/10/77, but the issue date for the Social Security number was June 15th of 1979.
But that's not uncommon. Because when they first, they for a long time we were suspicious of getting Social Security cards, and you have people that don't have them sometimes until they go into school and the school require it. So
Hmm.
all the way from birth to 5 years old, anywhere in there is a timely manner in a Social Security card acquisition, but you still have your indemnity record is based on um your true birth, not the bond birth certificate, but they have what they call a long form. The long
Hmm.
form, the master copy is always kept by the city that you was born in. They always keep the master copy, and sometimes they'll give you a copy of the long form, but most of us get the 8x10 short form birth certificate. So now they don't
Yeah.
even give you that. Now they give you something that look like a it look like a certificate to a preschool baseball tournament.
Yeah. And you know what, Rod, I even still question that because I also discovered that, like I said, the gentleman that I grew up with in the household was not my biological father, but I was able to pull records on that, the affidavits and all. So he claimed me to be his a year after he and the woman that I knew was my mother got married. And ironically, on the bottom of that form, he didn't even know, I guess, how old I was, apparently, because I'm not his child, but I was listed as the age of 4 on that affidavit, and then whoever the representative was or the agent that they dealt with in that whole process noted 10/7/83, which I'm assuming would have been the date that I would turn 5, because I couldn't think of any other reason they would put that date in that corner. And again, I'm finding all of this out after realizing that there's this big old inheritance circling around me. Everybody's trying to knock me off and get me to sit still and not move and not be seen and not be heard.
Yeah.
Um,
So your true okay. So what you picking up is your true inheritance is blue house fatherland, daddy's girl birthright coming off
yes, and
the matriarchy. You still got that coming. They know it's going to be released. You, it can't nobody get it but you because you the only. They know who you is.
yeah, some people have been able to access something. Again, I don't know exactly what it
They
is because
look.
no
They
one's
can use
approached
all the
me.
fraud they want under the query under the Piscean age. They was allowed to go rampant with the fraud, but
Yeah,
they don't touch the principle.
I have a
They just was
question
able
for
to
you
live
too.
off the principle by leveraging the principle as the collateral, but nobody can
Yeah,
take the collateral from you.
yeah, because the oracles were saying that um, basically they were like getting payments, increments to take care of me. But when I was to reach a certain age, I was supposed to get it, which I never heard anything about. And from what I'm gathering, something was sent out in Detroit, Michigan, at a time when I had already left, because all of my children were born there. So whoever was there got their paws on it.
But that was back then, you know, they was doing scams like 90 going north on the hustle game.
Yeah.
They was making identities. They was putting light bills and gas bills in babies' names.
Oh yeah, I got multiple copycats and doppelgangers walking around these North American lands with my name. Got even some trying to look like me. Crazy, sound like me and everything. It's wild. I have a question with regards to the paternal line. Again, a lot of my information is coming through spirit. It's being spoken of that on my paternal lineage, there was a connection with Masons. I'm not sure, possibly Eastern Stars. I'm not sure. I don't know his information. So much so that these cults are coming up in the energy, questioning who I am and how do I know these things, and they're trying to figure me out. So my question is, although I'm not aware that I've run across any of that particular knowledge, is that something that can also be handed down through DNA?
Yep. Anything your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents in that venom ever learned is accessible through the DNA, but your due diligence is how you activate it.
Okay.
But look, those people, you need to learn how to sit in your God seat. We're going to have to finish this in a personal chat, because I got to give you some other instructions. Because right now, because you're not self-aware, I'm going to advise to you that you email Empress Rarebird at the Shalagi Cherokee Nation and try to enroll in the next 12 steps to sovereignty that walks you through the steps where them people questioning you, you need to be questioning them. Anybody asking you about you, you need to be asking them, why you asking about me?
Yeah.
And you turn your power dynamic around. But it's more to it than that. And it's like over a period of time, you gotta have revelations in steps, in stages you have to get through, because you got a lot of stuff between you and activating who you are that you explaining in your, like when I asked you about what you thought gaslighting was, right? Which was a carryover from your hard boundaries, right? So you can get the information off, just type Empress Rarebird in your YouTube search, and her channel will pop up. You can click on her channel and get all of the information to mail. But you got a lot of work to do in order to take your power back. That's what all you're doing right now, is struggling to take your power back. And that's exactly where you stuck at, because you don't know which steps to take. And by not knowing which steps to take, you're scared to make the wrong step. So she gonna walk you through the steps in the 12-step process. Step 13 is getting your diploma from Big Mama's chair.
Yeah, I do have a lot to learn. And I see people in the comments. You guys, you can follow me. I'm on Facebook, if you don't mind, Rod.
Go ahead.
You guys can follow me. I am on Facebook. My name is Jamila S. Neal. And you can also find me on YouTube under Starfire's Seated Share.
Yeah, fraud would call Empress Rarebird a fake, because they don't know what the hell they talking about. Look, nobody that I'm talking about that haven't been through the fire and been tested with all of those people, with all of those false allegations, we all been through it. You're not going to be the one, and everybody and somebody not going to try to stop you from sitting in your seat. And this is why I was referring her to Empress Rarebird, for that very reason.
And I actually thought about reaching out, but again, with my financial situation,
it's free.
I just, I've just been very, I'm not going to say lost.
It's free.
Okay.
It's free. She don't charge you to go to that 12 steps of sovereignty. Only the frauds charge you for all kind of stuff. She just dropped out. I don't know. I didn't do that. So, but the frauds is gonna be the ones trying to charge you for everything, and the real ones is the ones that just trying to help you for free. I don't charge for nothing I do. Right? Empress Redbird tried to put me on salary, and I refused. Give it back to the children. And I'm not saying that to toot my own horn. We not doing this for self. We doing this so that y'all can take y'all power back the exact same way that me and the Empress and a whole bunch of others have had to take their power back. We have to first take back the sense of self and the power of being in self in order to know where we at and where our alliances is at. You're going to always have opposition if you're going in the right direction. That's how you know you're going the right direction. Because people that don't know you from a rock in Iraq got a whole encyclopedia written about you. And you don't even know them people. Ain't never had one conversation with them, ain't never talked to them, and they never been around them, but they know more about you than you do. They don't even know a relative of yours that know they related to you. And they got more to say about you. They not what they doing. They gonna worry about what everybody else doing, what they doing, right? So when you know, don't listen to other people. Go find out for yourself. Go find out. Go find out for yourself. Are you coming up now, Willie? Go find out what somebody about for yourself. People jump on the bandwagon too quick. They can't even play a fucking instrument. How you gonna be on the bandwagon and you can't even play an instrument? It's ridiculous. Peace, God. Can you hear me?